morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to season 4 and episode number 444?
34.
444? 34. No,
No,
we're in
39.
the 440s.
Oh, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, 444, I think it is, because we started at 440. But yeah, 444. Of
444,
the Daily
right.
Beaver. Yeah, of the Daily Beaver Morning Show here on the Crier Media Network. Today, recording day is Friday, August 9th, 2024. And it's a wet day here at the Beaver Lodge. In fact, Environment Canada has a rainfall warning that came out yesterday that said that we should expect about 50 to 75 millimeters and more in certain localized areas thanks to the remnants of Hurricane Debbie. So it's going to be red and gray. I prefer Little Debbie. I'm just saying. Much tastier. But yes, apparently it is going to be rainy and gray for pretty much the entire day here. Got woken up by it, wind and just falling. It was like a roar, the rain falling. But it was, I'm thinking it's coming in spurts and whatnot because for the moment it stopped, but everything is drenched.
Oh, yeah.
And considering, we had quite a heat spell there a little bit, the earth could use a little drink, but but yeah, it's going to be a lot. So, there might be some flooding in places and stuff. So, just be prepared. Be prepared.
Well, when I took Ms. Lola out this morning, normally she's eager to go out, right?
Yes.
Not when I took her out, it was like she was out for like 2 seconds. She's like, I don't think I like this. Took her literally to the north end of the building, and she just sniffed around for a bit and kept shaking the rain off and looked at me like, can we go in now? Can we go in?
This is not fun. I don't like this.
I'm not enjoying this now.
No. So, yes, a big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Peppermaster, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and CanadianTarot.com. I got a little love from the Peppermaster yesterday because there was a conversation that happened to be talking about food or whatnot, and hot sauces, so Tina mentioned, they talk about how hot things are, but it's not only about how hot things are; it's about how it tastes. Because that's like you might buy something that's really hot and say, "Woo, okay, it handled the heat." But I mean, let's be serious. If it tastes like the equivalent of diesel fuel, you're not buying a second bottle, right? So I just slid in there, and that's why we love the Peppermaster. They put the little tagline, thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. And she goes, "That's why we love you." I was real smooth. Yes. But they are really good products, Kits and Cubs. If you haven't tried them yet, please do. And Kit Vim can vouch. I've seen her mention it in the chat a few times. All right, Mr. Grizzly, how's your mental health today?
Despite the miserable, terrible, no good, awful, bad weather, which you can see here, I'll just give it so you can. I don't know if you can see the pouring rain right there from the live Grizz cam, but despite that, I'm actually pretty good.
Good.
Pretty good.
Good.
I fell asleep on the couch last night wearing the clothes I have on.
So you're literally doing rolled out of bed looking like this.
Yes, 100% truthfully. I fell asleep on the couch. I didn't mean to. I fell asleep on the couch, and Ms. Lola was at my feet. And I don't know, around 5 a.m., I think Bridget, she had crawled into bed at like 9 p.m. She was so tired. Around 5 a.m., she crawled out, and she Lola jumps up and then flaps her head. It wakes me up and startled me. And I'm like, what? Oh, crap. I slept in my clothes. So immediately after this, I'm going to take a long, hot shower. I know there's not a single person that is watching or listening to this show. Let me rephrase that. I'd be very surprised if somebody said they've never slept in their clothes. It's not fun, and you feel, ugh.
Yep. It's always my first thought too. Whenever it happens to me a lot, right? Because with insomnia, every now and then, I'm just like, okay, well, I can't fall asleep, so I'm going to stretch out and let's watch some TV, or stretch out and listen to a few podcasts and take some notes, and then I sort of like conk out. Then sort of like, oh, let's see. I fell asleep on the bed, fully dressed, with my slippers on, face towards the foot of the bed. And I don't know exactly when, but I know I stretched out at around like 8 p.m. and it's now 2 a.m. So I guess my day started, and it's sort of like, and then you look up and it's like, oh God, I slept in my clothes.
Yeah.
It's always the thought.
Greasy, grody feeling. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. All right, Kits and Cubs. We have news. It was a 2-medal day for Canada yesterday. Maud Charon, even though she had to change weight class, still found a way to win a medal, picked up silver. The person who picked up gold had, I think, about like 5 extra kilograms in lift. So in weightlifting, that's a big margin, and then set a record.
Well, and we were watching it live yesterday, and I was pointing out to Bridget. I go, "That's 106 kilos." She goes, "Yeah." I go, "That's 225 pounds."
Mm-hmm.
I could not clean and jerk that if you had a gun to my head, and that's the truth.
Well, she's fierce.
Well, mostly because my shoulders are busted, but that's a lot of weight.
Yeah, Maud Charon was fierce. I mean, she was one of the flag bearers in the opening ceremony.
She won a gold medal in the last Olympics, and then they made her change her weight categories.
Yeah, I know. They just got rid of her weight category for some reason. I don't know. But they're doing that a lot too, because Evan Dunphy, the race walker, right, won his medal in the 50K last time. And this time they had a 20K. Yeah. And then they did a marathon mixed event race. So 1 man, 1 woman, which I don't think was on the schedule in Tokyo last time. So I think they took that event to create another event to create more opportunities. And and a lot of people like watching mixed events. When you watch swimming and on track and field, the mixed relays, they're really cool. Right?
Well, the mixed relays on track and the mixed 4x100 in swimming too.
Yeah,
4x400, I should say, because each swimmer does a lap of the pool, which is 100 meters, 50 down, 50 back.
Yeah,
and that's becoming more and more and we see that in ski cross too, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, I think we do. I believe so. Yeah, in luge as well. There's mixed team luge, and so
and curling
and ski jumping.
Mixed curling's been a long time going.
Yeah, ski jumping as well.
They have team ski jumping now, right?
Yeah,
there's men's, there's women's, and then there's team, which is
right.
There's a combination of the two.
Yeah, so people like that, and opportunities to compete together and all that kind of stuff, and creating more opportunities for women to compete, because these are the first fully gender parity games.
The very first one ever in history. Yeah, it only took us 130 years,
something like that. Yeah. So
1896 to 2024. That's 130 years to get gender parity.
Right. But yeah, so that's been happening. Good
Leave it to the
news.
French to do it, though, right?
Yeah. Good news, Kits and Cubs, by the way. Just saw in our DMs that Mr. Dunphy, Evan Dunphy, said he wants to take a little bit of time after the Olympics, take a little vacation, but after September 20th, he will be back, and has agreed to be a guest on our show. So for the first time, we will have an actual Olympian.
Dude, that's kick-ass. How did you get
a
him?
medal winner? He was on X at one point and posted something, and I saw that the time was about like 5 minutes before I'd seen it. So I retweeted him, because I mean, the guy is just absolutely brilliant. I mean, like, all the things that you like an athlete, right? Like positive mental attitude, fierce competitor. You know, I mean, he finished 5th in his event, right? And it was like this close out of a medal. I mean, and he really pushed it. But you see him in the interview; he was super proud of his performance, like Mohammed was. You know, had nothing.
He wasn't
bad
upset
to say
at all. Like, he really wasn't.
No. He just said, you know, it's like, it's that last little push, and like I felt, you know, a little back there that I didn't have it, but I tried anyway, and you know, and 5. Just he's like Mohammed again, like consistent performances over and over and over and over again, right? To make us proud. So I just I retweeted it, and you know, said the same thing. You know, it's like we you know, commented on this you know, positive mental attitude and all that kind of stuff, and you know, said we would be very happy to have him as a guest. And he just in the DMs, "Hey crew, sorry I missed the message. I would love to chat when I'm back, going on a bit of a vacation, but back in Canada on the 20th. Sometimes after that, let's make it work." And I had actually asked him last year. I forgot, because when he responded, he says, "Hi crew, sorry I missed the message last year, because I sent it on August 19th, 2023. So almost a year to the day. But this time he did see it."
Awesome.
So yay. Yeah. So I mean, like I said, it's not new, right? It's not like I just saw Evan and said, "Oh, there, let's get him." It's like I wanted him last year. So because he's just a quality guy. So yeah, we will have them. And this is going to be, I've only met I've met 2 Olympians in my life.
I've met 2. I've met 3, actually.
Oh, no, that's true. No, that's not true. I've met more. I keep on forgetting about curling.
Yeah, no, I've met 3 Olympians. 4. So back in the 80s, there was a member of Canada's women's volleyball team that came and spoke at her school. We had a chance to have one-on-one with her. I can't remember her name. She was like 6'4". And yeah, she was really tall. Then, of course, I met a silver medalist at the 2010 Olympics in curling for women's team, who's
Cheryl Bernard.
Yes, thank you.
I met her too.
Met her and got a chance to hold her medal, and that thing was gigantic.
I know.
And then a few years back, on June 30th, at the Lieutenant's Pump, I looked out on the patio and I go, "That's Karina LeBlanc, Diana Matheson."
Yes, I remember you saying that.
They were sitting there, and they came in, and when they were walked by us, I just jumped out and I go, "Team Canada! Oh my God!" So yeah, 4 Olympians that I can think of. There may have been more, but those are the 4 I can actually remember well.
Yeah. The first one that I met that I remember was Jeff Christie, who was a luger, because we were out in Alberta, and we were visiting the installations for Calgary Olympics, and I knew that you could bobsleigh there. But on the day that we went there, it wasn't bobsled, it was luge, because the Canadian Luge Championships had been taking place at the same time. And we're just walking up, and it's like, "You're Jeff Christie." He's huge. He's so tall.
I did meet, when I was in Calgary last December, I did meet the parents of Canadian female ski jumper whose name is escaping.
Alexandra Loughton.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I remember. See, I listen when you talk. I remember the story.
Yeah, so I had a chance to meet her parents, and we had a nice chat. It was really funny. My buddy goes, "So, Paul, how many daughters do you have that are Olympic ski jumpers?" And I went, "None." He goes, "Well, then," and I'll say Tim. I can't remember his name right now. I'm sorry, sir. "Tim has one more than you do." I'm like, and the funny thing was, I had just sort of went off for about 10 minutes about my admiration for Olympians and the sacrifice that both the athlete and the families have to put in, and there's no guarantee that there's any sort of payoff whatsoever, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, that's what I admire about Olympians, because there is so much you put into it, so much heart, soul, sacrifice, not just of you, but of your family and your support team, and it's something else. It really is. So yeah.
Mhm.
So looking forward to speaking to Evan in a
Yeah.
few weeks' time.
Score. So yes, but yes, Mo Charon, silver medal in weightlifting, her weight class.
Is Maud from Gatineau?
That's no Rimouski.
Oh, who am I thinking of that's from Gatineau? Well, anyway, keep rolling.
And then Skylar Park, probably the Olympian with the coolest name.
Yeah.
Comes up through the repechage and wins a bronze in Taekwondo. Boom. And
Canada's won a Taekwondo medal in every Olympics since Taekwondo was introduced to the Olympics. I could be wrong about that, but I thought that was what
last I heard that this was our third Taekwondo, but I'm not sure how long ago it was.
I think it's only been in for like 3 Olympics.
It might be. Yeah.
It's relatively new.
Yeah. And let's see who else. Oh, yes. And then in beach volleyball, they did it the hard way.
Yeah, no kidding.
Sneaking in like through pool play, having to play lucky loser matches, and then getting in then in the first round in the bracket of the playoffs, having to take out the number 2 team in the world. But Brandy Wilkerson and Melissa Humana Paradis have made it to the gold medal match in beach volleyball, playing against the number 1 Brazilians. So it would be world number 1 versus world number 2 for gold.
Yes.
Can't ask for better.
Well, and Brandy Wilkerson was ranked number 1 a number of times in her career as a beach
volleyball
player. Like
and is still the number 1 blocker. Like this.
Oh yes,
in blocks on the tour. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
They're both fierce. They're both fierce, especially like I've been watching the matches like this, and every now and then Brandy's like, even if they're trailing like this, makes this incredible block, and then comes up to Melissa, and you can see the smirk in her face, and she goes, says, "We got this. Don't worry." So
I had a really good time watching that match yesterday because I was on the edge of my seat. It's like, oh shit, they're down a set. Oh, they came back.
They've been doing this all Olympics long.
Yeah,
just giving us like women. We love you, but could you please stop giving us heart attacks?
No, I don't. No, that makes it much more fun.
I know.
Speaking of heart attacks,
it's like my knuckles are so my knuckles are the only part of my body that are white right now.
Well, speaking of heart attacks in sports, I watched the Red Blacks match last night against the Saskatchewan Roughriders, which went to double overtime.
Okay, I do
and
not know
ended in a tie.
They stopped in a tie?
Well, yeah, you have 2 overtimes, and if it ends in a tie, it ends in a tie. So Ottawa was down by a field goal, and they kicked a field goal to tie it up. Time ran out. That's it. Game over. It does end in a tie. CFL can end in a tie.
I did not know that.
Yeah, they can't. But you have overtime. Each team gets a possession, and if you don't score, you go to another overtime quarter, and each team gets a possession. One team scored. Saskatchewan got a field goal. Then Ottawa got the ball. They got a field goal. That was it. Game over. And it was a thrilling game, despite the fact that there was no scoring in the first half. It was the most exciting, low-scoring game I think I've ever seen. Literally, at halftime, it was 0-0. It was 0-0 at half. It was solid defense both ways, and they were some exciting plays that just got broken up by defense. So and of course they had that torrential downpour in the first half. It was a hell of a game. It really was. And at one point when I thought, that's it, it's over, we've won, it's like, no, challenge. Yeah, ball goes back to Saskatchewan. Shit. Saskatchewan scores to go ahead. It's like, no, ball comes back. It's like there were so many calls that it kept it going. It was a double overtime match. It was a thriller to watch. It really was.
Oh, cool. The other thing that happened, unfortunately, we have to speak about it at the Olympics. Maybe the thing with the coach. The news about the coach had something to do with it, but none of the men got out of the semifinals for the 200 meters.
Mm-hmm.
So Andre de Grasse will not be defending his gold medal there.
No, it's already been run.
Yeah, that's right. Well, sorry. Yes. Yeah. Well, was not able to defend his gold medal there.
And the gold medalist is from Botswana.
Yes.
So that's the first medal they've ever won in any international event ever in history.
Oh, okay. I was wondering
very
that because
first time
he
they've
was
ever
in the
won anything.
100-meter final, I believe, as well.
Yeah, so he won the gold in the 200 meter, and
Tobogo, his name is, I believe.
yes, Tsili, I can't pronounce it properly. So I was really excited because Botswana has a special place in my heart because that's where this earring is from.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, that's where my folks lived for 4 years, and I had a chance to visit and spend 6 weeks there, and it was life-changing for me. So Botswana has a very special place in my heart. So the fact that they were able to win their very first medal ever, and it's a gold in the 200 meter, is outstanding. That was thrilling. I was really excited. Now the Americans did come out and say that is it Noah
Lyles or something?
Noah Lyles? Thank you.
Yes.
I knew I had it
He
right.
won the 100.
Yes, and he tested positive for COVID on the 5th of August. So he ran his race yesterday while battling COVID, and he came in second. So, people are saying, well, I'm like, look, the Botswana runner won that race fair and square, period.
Oh, yeah.
And he did it in sub 20-second time, which is world class, period.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I don't want to hear an excuse from anyone. Well, no, I didn't have. I don't care that he had COVID.
1946. It was a national record.
Yes.
It was an African record, and it was his personal best.
There you go.
To achieve your personal best at the Olympics is literally the summit of human performance.
Yeah. And you won a gold medal. So, they'll be partying in Gabs. Definitely partying in Gabs. Gaborone. Gabs. Everybody calls them Gabs. Gabs or Habs. But, yeah. Gaborone. You can pronounce it either way.
Today, I believe, if I am not mistaken, the breaking competition starts.
It starts today, yes.
Yes. So we have Phil Wizard, who is a former world champion competing. So there's a medal hope there to watch out for. And I'm going to be interested because apparently it works in battles.
Yeah, they do have.
So they're paired up in
eager
battles.
to watch that.
I've never seen a competition at all, so I don't know how the format is at all.
It's kick-ass. I mean, it's something that honestly I think should have been in the Olympics a long time ago, because when you see the athleticism that goes into it, you will understand. And they suffer a lot of injuries too. I mean, you're going to see some badass stuff today, I guarantee you. So we'll get to that a little bit later, but let's address the first elephant in the room, if we may, sir.
And I was just wondering, is the shot put final today?
I believe it is, yes. Yeah, I believe it is.
Okay, Sarah Mitten as well. So, so keep your eyes out for that, kids and cubs. All right.
So let's start with 7-Eleven, or shall we say, Club 7-Eleven. For those of you listening, we have I don't know if this was AI generated or not, but it looks like a bunch of people standing on a dance floor with a railing, and there's a 7-Eleven in the background at a club. So 7-Eleven stores across Ontario are going to start serving beer, wine, and RTDs, ready-to-drink cocktails, as of September 5th. But the 7-Eleven stores, not only will they be serving or selling, but they'll also be serving, because you will be able to consume the alcohol in the 7-Eleven, which means each staff member has to be Smart Serve certified. Number one.
Yep.
Number two, are they going to have 2 to 3 staff members on hand? Really, they're going to have more than one staff member. You can't, you walk into a 7-Eleven. Well, we don't have them in Ottawa because they're all Quickie stores. Quickie bought them out.
Yeah.
But you walk into a Quickie or a Max, which is now Circle K, or a 7-Eleven, and you will discover that there's usually only one person working at night, right? That's you can't staff it like that. If you're going to serve alcohol, you cannot staff it like that. You simply cannot. It's dangerous. Are they going to have security on hand in each store in case people get a little bit too rambunctious? Are they going to cut people off after 2 drinks and watch how well that will go?
I can't wait till somebody says, "Oh, where do you work?" "Oh, I'm a bouncer." "Oh, where?" 7-Eleven.
Well, and here's something else too. Club 7-Eleven. What a shame while underfunding healthcare. You do understand that $21 billion has been cut out of healthcare budget.
Yep.
$21 billion.
Mm-hmm. And we're paying $1 billion to be able to bring booze more quickly. And that will cause another depletion to the public purse because money will be diverted out of it by sales being diverted away from the LCBO. Yeah.
PNC Bio has a really interesting comment here. I'm going to put it on the screen. Sneaking out to 7-Eleven absurdly high to buy Doritos just got a lot more complicated in terms of dealing with people.
Yep. And I remember like somebody put something on Twitter the other day. It's like, what kind of person is going to go to 7-Eleven like to consume beer? And it says someone who's already been kicked out of all the clubs.
Yes. You'll have pre-gaming and post-gaming at a 7-Eleven because you've been kicked out, right? So, and this is the other thing too. Like, how much drunk driving are we going to have as a result of this?
Mm-hmm.
I saw a comment on the Twitter about this. Somebody says, yeah, I saw a guy walk into the beer store. Actually, he didn't say beer store. He said, I saw a guy walk out with beer, pulled one out of the case, cracked it open, started to drink it before he got in his truck to drive away.
Yep.
This is not going to end well. Now, look.
Now, that could happen at any beer store, though, right?
Yeah.
That can happen anywhere now.
Beer, liquor, period. That can happen. And I was about to say that. And I have long said we should be adults about this, and I'd like to be able to go to the corner store and get beer.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to do it at the expense of $1 billion.
Yep.
Number one. Number two, I personally have said from day one, if we're going to do this in the province, we should do this correctly. And that would be helping out local businesses by selling only Ontario craft beer and Ontario wine in corner stores. But of course, that won't happen because Dougie's got to keep his oligarch puppet masters happy. So how much craft beer are we going to see in those stores? How much Ontario wine are we going to see in those stores? Probably little to none. It's going to be damn well the big ones, InBev, Diageo, all the big companies, Molson Coors. The chance of having local craft beer there, I think, is slim to none, which means the liquor store should just abandon all the big ones and sell only craft beer. That won't happen. Craft and import, right?
Right.
Because it's funny how I can buy an imported beer for less money than I can buy one that was brewed here in Ontario. I do not understand how I can buy a German beer for less money at the LCBO for $1 to $1.50 less per can than a locally brewed beer. I do not understand that. I don't.
Yep.
Because and the reason being I can't understand it is Germany has high wages.
Right.
High wages, quality control. They have more rules and regulation than we do in many cases. And damn near everybody's unionized, and everybody starts their new. If you start a part-time job, you are entitled to 4 weeks vacation in Germany.
Right.
So how is it that they can produce beer at that price, send it across the ocean, and cost $1 to $1.50 less per can? I don't know how they do it. Is it volume? I guess. I don't know. You're right, though, Christian. Lots of people don't drink craft. You are correct. But that's why I wanted to see. And the other thing, too, about craft beer is like everybody automatically assumes it's like a punch you in the face IPA or some chocolate mocha double decaffeinated half calf. No. There's a beer that's brewed here in Ottawa called Local Lager, which I know that you enjoy on occasion when we're doing the pubcast.
Right.
It's brewed right here in town. It's just
it's just your regular Pilsner.
Just a regular lager. That's it. It's a craft because it is done by a small company, a small brewery. They only brew one product. That's it. Local Lager. It's a nice beer, simple logo. It's good beer. It's not expensive. I like it. I have it from time to time. It's although it is a craft beer, it doesn't fall into that milieu of the specialty lager craft, where the hops are so heavy that when you open it, you almost pass out.
Right. And here's the thing is that Alberta, how do you put it? The Ford government has announced its things that it was doing with regard to booze to bring it all over, and then Alberta made a similar announcement not too long ago, and people are looking back, and because Alberta went to a more private liquor model way back in 1993.
Yeah, it's been 30 years.
Yeah, so they've announced that an expansion is coming to that, and there's an article here in CBC which is really interesting because somebody decided to go and take a look back to see if the promises that Doug Ford is making, are promises that people can, if it's a check that is asked in cash, let's put it that way.
Yeah, well, the shit, I can't. The data, that's the word I was looking for.
Yes.
The data is there to show you over 31 years they've had private liquor sales in the province of Alberta. The price has not gone down. It's actually become more expensive, and they've lost tax revenue.
Yeah. So, for example, according to this article here, Joel Dryden wrote it for CBC News. Quote, the Alberta Liquor Control Board is no longer our spiritual leader, Calgary Herald columnist Don Martin declared in a September 3rd, 1993 column. Martin was reacting to news that the Alberta government would give up exclusive control over liquor, having regulated sales via the Alberta Liquor Control Board, the ALCB, since prohibition ended in the province in 1924. Quote, it could be the best retail opportunity since the dawn of rental videos. Boy, this is dated. Martin went on to say, while shares of Blockbuster Video no longer hold the same appeal they once did, Alberta's 1993 venture into privatized booze has led to dramatic reshaping of the liquor landscape. In recent weeks, as Ontario has been engaged in debate around the future of Liquor Control Board of Ontario, some in that province have turned their eyes to this other Alberta model. Meanwhile, Alberta has been weighing the idea of expanding its access further to potentially expand alcohol sales into grocery and convenience stores in the province. Gee. And interesting that she too seems to be obsessed with expanding booze, given that she's got a leadership review coming up and not able to keep the hospitals open.
No, emergency rooms are closed, but enjoy your beer in the corner store.
They're working on booze because that's something they can control and point to and say, hey, we got a result, because they have no answers or solutions or ideas for health.
Well, where's the 70 billion? Where's the missing 70 billion?
Yep. But that's what's going on. Right. That's why everybody's saying, like, why are they so obsessed with booze? This is the reason why, because it's something they can control, succeed at according to their own metrics, and point to and say, see, look at what we've done. We are actually competent. Because for the stuff that actually matters, the stuff that puts food on your plate and make sure that you don't get sick and make sure that your kids get great care when you have to go and, earn a living, those things they got nothing for.
To respond to this question here, no, it's owned by Couche-Tard, which is Alimentation Couche-Tard, which is a Quebec company, and there is ownership from Texas as well.
Okay. What does the it refer to?
The 7-Eleven.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, 7-Eleven. And who sits on the board of that? Oh, that's right. Former Prime Minister Stephen Harper.
Indeed.
Doug scratches Stephen's back.
Yep. Now, the province's Service Alberta and Red Tape Reduction Ministry, God, there's a mouthful. There's a little propaganda, is currently reviewing the results of a MLA committee that recently met with grocers and liquor industry representatives. Quote, the results will be used to help inform how Alberta's fully private liquor model can continue to support the best interests of both businesses and Albertans, wrote Brandon Aboutlaïf, a press secretary to Minister Dale Nally in a statement. Alberta's move to privatize liquor retailing was the first such move in the country. In selling the plan, the Ralph Klein government argued it would deliver a larger selection of liquor, stable consumer prices, and establish a new base of small business.
All of that has been proven wrong.
Access. The results speak for themselves on the density front. 64% of Alberta's population now lives within 1 kilometer of a liquor store, according to a 2018 Statistics Canada report, the most recent data available. That's much higher than other provinces. British Columbians saw a 41% figure, while the figure was listed as being below 30% elsewhere in the country. In 1993, there were a total of 803 liquor stores in the province, selling a total of 2,200 products, according to the Alberta Gaming, Liquor and Cannabis Commission. At that time, pricing was set by the government and was consistent across all stores. As of March 31st, 2023, nearly 30 years later, there were a total of 2,418 liquor retailers in the province selling 33,628 products. So there are more products, slightly more stores. So about 10% more stores
But
and
most of the
substantially
stores,
more.
there's not a lot of stores that are privately owned. Most of them have been bought up
Oh,
by
yeah.
big conglomerations.
Yeah, absolutely. Today, retailers set their own shelf prices. Even warehouse retail store Costco has jumped into the action, with Alberta the only province home to standalone Costco liquor stores. With 30,628 products on the shelves, the province has also seen an explosion of selection. But given the fact that private stores are not required to fall under any sort of uniformity when it comes to product selection, your mileage may vary when seeking out a specialty product. Certain larger urban warehouse style vendors will have more selection compared to a rural liquor store with limited stock, for instance. What about employment? In 1993, when Alberta liquor stores and warehouses were unionized, the Alberta Union of Provincial Employees expressed concern about the estimated 1,500 job losses that would result from the move, very similar to the concerns of the LCBO provincial employees that just recently ended their strike. Today, the Alberta Liquor Store Association estimates that there are somewhere around 12,000 employees in the industry. The association says the figure is based on an average of 6 to 7 employees per store, warehousing and delivery, plus agents in the province. Clearly, you can't compare these numbers because actually, the first number they give us, see, this is bad journalism here in the sense that they told us how many jobs they thought would be lost, but they didn't say how many jobs there were at the time. And now they're saying how many there are now. So we can actually
They've
judge from the
left
article whether it's more or not. The association says that figures based on an average of 67 employees per store, warehousing and delivery, plus agents in the province. Quote, you have an explosion of liquor stores, you're going to have an explosion of jobs, says Simon Enoch, director of the Saskatchewan office for the Canadian Centre for Policy Alternatives think tank, but it was an explosion of mostly minimum wage jobs. Douglas West, professor emeritus in the Department of Economics at the University of Alberta, conducted a study that was included in a 2003 publication for the Fraser Institute think tank. It found that liquor store employees' wages dropped under privatization, but liquor store employment increased with the expansion in store count. So, slightly more jobs, I guess, or maybe more than slightly, but none of them paying as well.
Well, and this is how they say, we create new jobs. Yeah, but they're earning less money. They're barely surviving, and I guarantee you, none of those jobs are full-time 40 hours with benefits. Not a single one of them.
On consumer prices, perhaps the chief area of interest is prices, both on the consumer side and on the government revenue side. Though his study was published in 2003, West said the large impacts of privatization would have been felt by then, with additional changes coming along mainly on the margins. He said consumer prices in Alberta are influenced by suppliers' set wholesale prices, store and government markups, and the timing of time-limited offers. All the factors at play means it's challenging to track retail pricing changes over time. Quote, what I concluded in the data that I looked at in my own study is that there was some increases in retail prices as a result of privatization, but it was not large. But it depends on product category and time period. Given the competition in the retail market, it's possible for consumers to shop around for lower prices. Over time, consumers likely become attuned to stores with lower prices and frequent markdowns in price. Some advocate for any analysis to utilize the lowest available price in the province, not a median measurement. And it goes into like a whole bunch of an example to calculate it. Then goes on to say a 2012 report from David Campanella, then the public policy research manager for the Parkland Institute, and Greg Flanagan, a public finance economist, concluded that privatization has led to Albertans paying more compared to public stores. In addition, when Alberta privatized, it changed the tax system from a percentage of the price to a unit tax. It doesn't matter what it costs, the tax is flat, Enoch said, which dings lower cost alcohol, right? Because everything is charged at the same tax rate. When it comes to government revenues, those in Ontario with their eyes on Alberta note that in 2023, Alberta liquor sales generated about $177 per person annually in government revenue, given a population estimate of 4.6 million on April 1st, 2023. That compares to around $159 per person in Ontario. But that doesn't factor in what some researchers refer to as the alcohol deficit, what increased alcohol consumption leads to when it comes to costs associated with healthcare, criminal justice, and more. This is a concept that Patrick Brazeau talked to us about when he was talking about Enable the Label, and again when we had our chat at after the mental health walk, talking about that the alcohol deficit. This is an area in which Ontario is seeing lower costs compared to Alberta, according to a recent report. More on that later. In his 2003 report, West stated that Alberta government revenues had tended to increase under privatization. At the time of privatization, the government committed to revenue neutrality using flat markups. They didn't want to see this as being a possible revenue grab, so they adjusted the markups from time to try and maintain revenue neutrality, West said. They did that for a number of years afterwards, but then at some point they decided to abandon revenue neutrality and decided that they could increase markups and increase government revenues as a result. I'm sure they made a great big announcement, bringing lots of attention to that when they did. Despite these efforts, analyses have suggested that the government's approach has led to a loss over time in government revenues. By not maintaining the 1993 level of tax revenue per litre of alcohol sold, Campanella and Flanagan estimated that number at nearly $1.5 billion in their 2012 report. Writing for the Fraser Institute, senior fellow Mark Milkey suggested that lower revenues were a result of the markup, not of privatization itself, because the Fraser Institute would. The provincial government, meanwhile, says its ongoing review is also studying whether changes are needed to modernize the liquor markup system, which was last reviewed in 2003. The review has taken a comprehensive view of liquor markups and the province, including concerns about how our markups support social responsibility, Abutlayev wrote. And just an aside there, kids, when I say as the Fraser Institute would, the reason I'm saying that is that it recently issued a study saying that I think like 48% of our salaries go in taxes. But what they didn't tell everybody when they did that, the report, at least in their headline, is that they included corporate taxes in that.
That's right.
Number, which raises the number, which creates the narrative that we're being taxed to death, which is an actual false narrative.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, they never look at the other side. Of course, they only look at how much we're paying. They don't compare that to what we're getting for it and tell us if we're actually getting good value for that money. So that's why I'm saying, as of course the Fraser Institute would, because they tend to add and omit things from their analyses that make the numbers generate the headlines that it would like. Now, about the alcohol deficit. Still others say that the social costs for Alberta having such a high density of liquor availability might wipe out any possible revenue gains. This concept has been defined as the alcohol deficit, studied as part of the Canadian Alcohol Policy Evaluation 3.0 published last year. That was the evaluation that recommended that said that pretty much no alcohol is good, but if you are going to drink it, 2 drinks or less is probably where it is, where consumption of alcohol does not contribute somehow statistically to your risks of contracting one of 7 different types of cancers, I believe. So that's that data came from that same study. That study suggested in 2020 that Alberta saw $1.3 billion in alcohol revenue, but it saw $3.1 billion in alcohol harm costs, leading to a total alcohol deficit of $1.3 billion in alcohol revenue, but saw $3.1 billion in alcohol harm costs, leading to a total alcohol deficit of $1.8 billion, which equates to 95 cents per standard drink sold. Ontario, meanwhile, saw a total alcohol deficit of $1.9 billion or 34 cents per standard drink sold, a considerably lower figure compared to Alberta. Albertans also drink more alcohol annually compared to Ontario and the rest of the country. According to the same report, 528 standard drinks are consumed per person in Alberta over the age of 15 compared to 487 across the rest of the country and 457 in Ontario. Darn, Ontarians are pretty much teetotalers.
Well, yeah.
Of the nation. I would have never expected that Ontarians drink less than the national average. There you go.
I'm not entirely surprised by that. When you think about there's a large portion of our population that does not consume alcohol due to religious reasons, and we have
that is true,
right? So you have to take that into consideration, along with the fact that a lot of people just simply do not consume alcohol. Period.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm guessing if you're more likely to be living in a metropolitan area, big like Toronto, for example, with the amount that you have to drive.
Mm-hmm.
People just get out of the instinct. It's like, well, you know you're going to have to drive somewhere so to get anywhere. So yeah, and there's going to be lots of other vehicles on the road. So the pre-decision making of say, yeah, you know what, I think I'm going to keep as clear ahead as possible on this occasion is probably more likely in that case. Quote, it's not coincidence the higher consumption and permissive policies wrote Tim Namey, the director of the University of Victoria's Canadian Institute for Substance Use Research, which produced the study. He said that Alberta received the lowest alcohol deficit score of any province. Quote, based on this, it would appear that Alberta's policies may be good for alcohol companies, but a crummy deal for taxpayers. All told, 30 years later, it's a mixed cocktail of results post-privatization, something for jealous Ontarians to consider as they look to the West for solutions to their liquor access woes, assuming that they are woes.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it looks like if we're basing it on past experience, now, of course, depends how things are done. Devil's always in the details. That we're basically paying about $1 billion for something that may benefit in some way a certain small group of people, but that for everyone on the whole, pretty much is a crappy deal.
Oh, yeah.
So there you go. All right. Mr. Grizzly, do you have something?
I do. Actually, I have a couple of things I wanted to share with you. Let me just bring them up here. The first one is Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota. Minnesota?
Yes, Minnesota.
I was blanking there for a minute. Governor of Minnesota. And here he is at a rally last night with presidential candidate Kamala Harris. And he had a couple of things to say. He was in Philadelphia. Check this video out. This is really good. This is news, so we shouldn't get tagged for it. But either way, let's just have a look at this.
Some of us in here are old enough to remember. I see you down there. I see those old white guys. Some of us are old enough to remember when it was Republicans who were talking about freedom. It turns out now what they meant was the government should be free to invade your doctor's office. In Minnesota, we respect our neighbors and their personal choices that they make. Even if we wouldn't make the same choice for ourselves, there's a golden rule. Mind your own damn business. These guys are after my heart chanting, mind your own damn business. That feels good, so thank you. Look.
I like this man.
Mm-hmm. I really like this man. Ironically, they've been looking for a whole bunch of stuff on him to try and slag him.
They can't find anything.
They tried to slag his military service. He bailed just before he went to before they were deployed to Iraq.
Mm-hmm.
He resigned 2 months before the deployment order happened. And given in the military, you kind of have to start those papers beforehand.
Yeah.
In order to get there.
So that decision was made well in advance.
And he was stepping aside to run for Congress, which means he had filed his papers so that clearly didn't work.
It was planned out long in advance.
He does, if there is one thing, he does have a DUI when he was younger. But he wants to, kill the Second Amendment. There's a photo of him like this with his dog, like this, holding a rifle when he's hunting, and the gun is not pointed at the dog. So yeah, there's a win. They can't do that yet. They're trying to he's more socialist than Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders would like to have a word with you on that. He gave kids free food. Such a socialist. He put tampons in schools. Terrible thing. Like, he's pro-life. It's like, and it's all these things. It's like, yes, okay, he's pro-life, but Republicans, do you really want to be drawing attention to the fact that you remove the rights for greater than 50% of your population right now? Mm-hmm. Probably not. Do you want to tell he's been pro rainbow? Says, do you really want to bring attention to the trans thing? Because right now that sounds like a little weird. So there's like all the lines of attack on this guy. They're already blunted, right? Just like saying that he's like too leftist. He agrees with background checks and red flag laws, as most moderate Republicans do as well.
Correct.
So you're not going to win on that either. He screwed up on George Floyd. like this because the protests were there
Except
until ABC
Trump
just
praised him.
ABC released tape. Lordy, there are tapes of Trump on the phone praising him for his action. So can't use that either. They literally have got nothing.
They got nothing. They have less than nothing on this man.
Nothing. Now, then you have Kamala, who had this moment.
And he intends to end the Affordable Care Act. You know what? If you want Donald Trump to win, then say that, otherwise I'm speaking.
Oh, daggers. Daggers. Oh, she's pissed.
Okay. Now, I asked around, it's like what is it that person in the audience said to generate that? The best I can gather, and I cannot confirm this, but the best I can gather from what people have been telling me is that it was a pro-Palestinian protester that was trying to make the whole event about their thing. So again, it's like, you want us to lose, keep on saying that the most extreme take that you can have on that. Keep saying that out loud, right? She is on record as being more willing, to stop arms shipments to Israel and whatnot. And so the people who are on that side who are advocating for that say, hey, there's genocide going on, you need to pay attention to it. They've got the candidate that is most likely to do something. So don't show up at a rally and try to make the rally about your thing and try to create a narrative that can try to derail this train at the moment. So she was saying, whoa, stop that. And then she gave that look.
Oh, yeah.
That look that, well, let's just say it this way. I know that look because that's the look my Beaver mama gave me when she said, I'm going to count from 1 to 10. 1, 2,
okay, I'm good.
10. I'm sure, and I'm gone. Right? So, yeah. It's like whenever that's the only thing. That's the only look my Beaver mama need to give me to say, ooh, okay, I better straighten up.
Yeah. Let's compare and contrast. Okay. Tim Walz, we saw a moment of Kamala Harris. This is 28 seconds of I don't know what.
She's a radical left person at a level that nobody's seen. She picked a radical left man that is, he's got things done that he has positions that are just it's not even possible to believe that they exist. He's going for things that nobody's ever even heard of. Heavy into the transgender world, heavy into lots of different worlds.
He's not ready.
He's a babbling idiot.
He's not ready. He's got nothing. They've got nothing. And the worst part is because when you look at the rallies now, they had one in Eau Claire, and you pan out and there's hardly anybody there for his. So they're all doing all these tight shots, and then you pan out and all the ones, and you see the stadium full. And he's literally, they're doing 7 events in 5 states or something like that over the next couple, or 7 events. I don't know, but a huge number of events. He's got one planned for the entire week. Low energy Donnie, this. And he's literally this campaigning by calling into Fox or standing in that, whatever it is he's standing and making these statements. But he literally has nothing
He's got
to
nothing
say. He's got nothing to say. He's just trying to get airtime. And turns out now that he's flip-flopped, right? Because he said he wasn't going to participate in the ABC debate. And then he said like this, oh, I've agreed to debate on Fox. Well, I don't know with whom you agreed to debate with because nobody's there with you. And then ABC did the thing that the debate consortium in Canada never had the balls to do.
Mm-hmm.
They actually put out a press release that says, well, Donald Trump, the debate is happening whether you're there or not. So if you're not there, then we're just going to give the airtime to Kamala Harris to address the nation. He announced yesterday that he's showing up to debate because the man is not driving the narrative, and the man is so damn thirsty for attention that he would attend the opening of a freaking envelope if he knew that there were going to be cameras and a microphone there at this point. He is desperate. Desperate.
Well, and not just him, though. Look at individuals in the greater media. Check this out. This is Mike Davis. Biden was Obama's deadweight. Kamala is Biden's deadweight. Tampon Tim is Kamala's deadweight. And from Megyn Kelly, that bastion of civil liberty, Tampon Tim is the name. That's it. But hang on. Let's look at a retort from this individual. As a girl dad, I can't tell you how many times I've dropped feminine hygiene products off at school because they were needed unexpectedly and not provided. Calling him Tampon Tim should be a badge of honor.
Exactly.
And from Bobby Umar, agreed. The first time my daughter needed pads, I went right away to get them and brought them to her without any discussion or shame, just support and compassion. That's what a girl dad is. They're not winning on any front here.
No, and you can tell that Tampon Tim isn't working because they're already switching to Twitchy Tim.
Yeah. They've got nothing.
They literally have nothing. Nothing. They are flopping around.
He's a socialist. He feeds children. Okay. Please explain to me how that is bad. If you can come up with a reason how that is a bad thing, I might be willing to listen to you, but I don't think you can. I don't think you can come up with a single reason to say that feeding children while they're in school so that they can learn because they have full stomachs is a bad thing. If you can come up with a reason that that's bad, and you're not going to be able to, ever, not in a million billion years.
Yeah. Now, meanwhile, back in Republican land, as this is going on for Kamala and Tim Walz, this is what they've got JD doing, or so I don't say they've got JD doing. I think this is something that JD thought would be a good idea. Remember that debate between Trump and Hillary where Trump just sort of seemed to forget where he was for a while and started wandering off to her side of the podium like this, to which like she literally should have just said, she should have stopped whatever she was saying. Mr. Trump, are you lost? The debate's over there. That's like a moderator. Could you please send him back to us? Like, he should not be anywhere near me. Thank you. This is a little creepy. Had she just called it out, she probably would have won the election.
I agree. So I agree with you. Yeah, I think we'd have a different world right now.
I think she's like, like Karen Walker, just like, honey, wait, what's this? What are you doing here? What? Why? What's this? What you trying here? This is not normal. Talking about not normal.
Okay, here we go. Have a look at this weird thing. Stalker extraordinaire.
President doesn't answer questions from reporters and hasn't for 17 days. Have they given you guys an explanation for why she won't take questions from reporters? No? Nobody? Okay, great. Well, I hope that she changes her mind because it'd be good for the American people, and I think it'd be good for you all if she actually ran a real campaign instead of one from a basement with a teleprompter. So have a good one, guys. See ya. What would you like to hear from her? I'd love her to answer some questions. I'd love her to just answer what she wants to do and also explain why every single position she has changed. She pretends to be a prosecutor, yet she's She pretends to be a tough-on-crime prosecutor, and yet here she is wanting to defund the police. She's the border czar, yet she's opened up the American southern border. This is a person who has to answer the questions from the media, and it's disgraceful that she runs for you guys. It's also insulting for the American people. But anyway, we're going to go do our event. I appreciate you guys being here. I wish she paid you some more attention.
Okay. Weird. Super weird.
Yeah.
So Air Force Two is arriving at the tarmac at Eau Claire because some genius on the Republican side thought that having competing rallies in the same city in the same day would have been a good idea. If you see the images, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are in a hangar, and it's full. The camera pans out. You can see it is completely full. And then you see pictures of the Trump event in Eau Claire, and there is a smattering. That would be me being generous. A smattering of people there. So, yeah, he just shows up to photobomb. Pretty much the camera is covering the arrival of Air Force Two. Says, hopefully it's going to be my plane in a few months. Also thought you guys may get lonely because the VP doesn't answer questions from reporters, which is clearly not true. But all of that was to try to create this moment right here. Because picture of him looking all tough and ready to take on the job. So like I said, all these things are staged and manufactured. This is the photo that they're going around, right? Air Force Two in the background, him with his whole gang of suits there. It's like looking ready to take on stuff, him leading it. JD Vance in flop gun. It was glove at first sight. Sorry. I'm petty. Like I said, super damn creepy. And, if you look at what was going on in the hangar. Here we go, Mr. Grizzly. Meanwhile,
was that for Kamal?
Yep.
Oh.
They had to hold the event at the damn airport because that was enough room out in the hangars and on the tarmacs. That's so yeah, it is not going well at all for Team Trump. And he did not ditch J.D. Vance by Tuesday, which was the limit, the time at which he could. So that is going to be the ticket. He's stuck with them. They are stuck together. And so far, so good for the Democrats. No blunders, no mistakes. The execution of this has been flawless so far. Hopefully, 90 more days or so. So plenty of time for accidents and trips ups and something to happen. But in terms of getting this off again, people are going to be studying this. Political science students are going to be studying this for years to come because right now, you can't be asking for better. You can't be asking for better. All right. What else do we have over here? Kids and Cubs. We have some news a little bit about the landslide in Williams, BC. The First Nation there has started assessing the damage caused by the Chikotlan River landslide. Brittany Clemenson is an archaeologist who says that there was at least 24 burial sites that were impacted by the natural dam burst. Quote, there were several significant village sites located along the Chilcotin River from Farewell Canyon through to the Fraser River. These village sites are well documented, and the documents in archaeological research and oral history speak to house pits, cache pits, and that's cache for people who are listening, C-A-C-H-E and not C-A-S-H. So storage pits to hide stuff, artifacts, burial sites being present at these locations. Clementson says that some of the villages date back to more than 4,000 years, although some were surveyed more than 50 years ago. Much of the historical legacy remains unexplored, and the team must wait until the landslide area is stable in order to assess all the damage that might have been done. Another thing going on, this is in northeastern Saskatchewan. It seems that there is an irrigation project because things have been so dry. That's a little controversial. The government wants to divert water from the Saskatchewan River Delta to help irrigate farmland. Environmentalists and First Nation leaders say that it will cause harm, suggesting it can already make low water levels worse. So it seems again that the extent of the adaptation plan that people have thought of is, oh, we'll just take water from the river. Okay, and then when there's no water from the river, then what do you do? So they're not taking this seriously yet. Barry Carrier was 57 years old and has traveled the Delta his entire life as a trapper and a fisherman, a hunting guide. Says, quote, for me growing up on the land, the Delta was so beautiful, vast, rich with waterfall. But today he sees a Delta that has channels that are too shallow to navigate. He says that the long-term health of the Delta is increasingly under threat. Dams are creating rapid changes in water levels, and he fears that a major irrigation project will further contribute to the decline. But the government sees that taking water from the Delta is their solution to survive drought. Seems to me that probably a better solution would probably be to build some water storage facilities that captures rainfall when we have it. That could be used.
No kidding.
Rather than taking water from a river. There's also something in Alberta, which is, it's been long overdue. People and Indigenous people in Alberta have been complaining for the longest time that the Athabasca oil sands region has been creating pollution that has had an effect on their health. And it seems that the government has announced this week a $12 million study on the region to actually be able to get data to confirm or infirm that impression. The principal of the Fort Chipewyan Community School says it needs to be comprehensive, it needs to be over long term, and it should have been done decades ago. And says, what we're hoping is that the students have a voice in this and can help out with maybe some of the monitoring on the land. People in the community say that they've noticed that that the people in the community have been experiencing significant health issues, whether it's been elders or young ones. The study will be done over a course of a decade. And I'm just looking to bring up an article on it that was pretty good. This is from Canada.ca, so this is an official government line here on this one. It says, the Minister of Environment and Climate Change, the Honourable Stephen Guilbeault, visited Fort Chipewyan, Alberta, and met with community leaders and members to better understand their concerns about the environmental and human health risks associated with living near the Athabasca oil sands region. These concerns were heightened in February 2023 when the federal government and Indigenous communities were made aware of an incident impacting the area from the oil sands industry. So today, the minister announced that the government was going to make available $12 million over 10 years for something called the Fort Chipewyan Health Study. It's a community-led health study with the Athabasca Chipewyan First Nation, the Mississauga Cree First Nation, and the Fort Chipewyan Métis Nation, so all three in the area, and will examine the impacts of the oil sands on community members' health. The design of the community-led health study currently underway will outline the community's objectives and study methodology. They may include an assessment of whether there are heightened risks for cancer and other health and environmental impacts from downstream communities related to activity in the oil sands. During this visit, the minister spent time with elders and leadership from the 3 communities, as well as participated in events with community members. The community members reaffirmed that the impact of environmental incidents in the oil sands region is an environmental injustice and their deep concern for their continued exposure to downstream impacts of the oil sands. They also discussed the impacts of a changing climate on the growing risks of wildfire and to the well-being of these communities, including the active wildfires in Wood Buffalo National Park, to better understand how the communities are adapting. So this is good. That it will take 10 years, is necessary for these types of studies, but of course it means, right, that the results aren't going to come quickly. And then what we learn from these studies to be able to develop responses, it's not going to be something that's, we've studied this and like in a year and a half, we're going to have an announcement that comes after it, and then we're going to be starting doing things unless there's like something really glaring and obvious that appears really, really early on. So, but these are the types of things that are not sexy, that the government needs to do, that are over the long term, that a lot of governments, when they get thinking only in 4-year increments, just decide not to do because there's nothing in it for them, because there are no results that are going to come for them to take some actions that can then have some effects that they can point to before the next election. But it doesn't mean that you don't do it anyway. Studies have previously shown higher rates of cancers in the community along the shores of Lake Athabasca. The lake is fed by the Athabasca River, which runs through the region where most of Canada's oil sands mines are located. In 2009, an Alberta health study identified a potential problem but said more investigation was needed and could not pinpoint a cause. We're 15 years later like this, and now we're like only looking at putting the studies, right? Even though this was called for in 2009. That's what I'm saying, right? It's just not important. There's no quick reward, so it gets pushed back until someone finally decides to do it. Other studies have found unsafe levels of arsenic, mercury, and hydrocarbons in the area's water, as well as in its fish, sediments, and surrounding wildlife. Stephen Guilbeault said during the press conference, "I've heard loud and clear community members need to know what impacts of living downstream from the oil sands means for them. I've heard stories of health troubles, very high cancer rates, concern about contaminants in the water, and since the Curl Mine, those concerns have been exacerbated." And the Curl Mine is, when we talked about the major incident in the previous release, it's 18 months ago, the tailings ponds from the Curl's oil sands mine near Fort McMurray, Alberta, had been seeping into the groundwater for months. The people had found. So the ponds contain toxic chemicals, including mercury, benzene, and arsenic. The news was delivered only after another leak was discovered at the containment pond, though the company says that most of the leak was captured before it caused any damage. And I believe that there was no public announcement about that leak at the time, which really infuriated the Indigenous community, because you're telling me, you say, wait, you're telling me that there actually was another leak, but according to them, they contained it early enough, so we didn't need to know about it? What the F? Right? So documents later filed by Imperial Oil showed seepage from the tailings ponds was anticipated when they were designed and that it had been documented for years. But they didn't say anything because, it's only Indigenous people. Right?
Yeah.
Last October, Imperial spokeswoman Lisa Schmidt said in a statement that the company is working, quote, to address the areas of shallow seepage from our operating lease area. We recognize there are concerns regarding water quality, and we take this very seriously. Now that we've been caught, she said. Funding for the study speaks. Do I lie?
No.
Funding for the study speaks volumes about a commitment by the federal government to reconciliation. Kendrick Cardinal, president of the Fort Chippewa Métis Nation, said Tuesday, quote, "It's important we hold industry accountable for what's happening in our community. They've created a different lifestyle here. Things have changed dramatically." Cardinal said the way nature works, it will be 10 years before the true impact of the Curl spill is known, and he said the study is needed because the Curl's incident is just one event. Quote, "So just to keep that in mind, we can't keep pointing fingers at one component. There's multiple engines running here, and there are engines that were long operating before Imperial came. Until we truly find out what is the cause, only then we should be able to address those issues. But until then, this is a step forward." While the 10-year time frame for the study is lengthy, Gilbo said there is already work underway to better regulate releases from oil sands, and a Crown Indigenous working group is investigating what to do with existing tailings ponds. Quote, I've said many times publicly that there can be no new licenses for tailings ponds issues until we find solutions to the existing tailing ponds that we have, Gilbo said. As to what would happen if the study finds the oil sands are impacting the health of the community, the government would have to act further. Gilbo said he would hope the province and the companies would then work with the federal government, quote, to put in place even more stringent measures from an environmental and health point of view. I think that that would be the only reasonable course of action, he said. He's also right on that. So there you go. Very important studies. Things should be done. Again, little ways that we're showing that reconciliation is indeed taking place. But you know, so there's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of work to do, and we're only scratching the surface.
Indeed.
Yeah. Do you have anything, Mr. Grizzly?
Yeah, I got a couple of little things here quickly. One from the Daily Beast that says former advisor says Trump literally doesn't even know or care if he's telling the truth, which is not a surprise because remember when he was in front of the, what was it, the Black...
National Association of Black Journalists.
Thank you. He started late because he refused to come on stage if they were going to fact check him live.
Yep. Oh, is that's what came out?
That's why he was late.
Because he was supposed to be there for an hour, even though it started 35 minutes late. Because when the journalist that was also moderating the event said we have the president for an hour. If you looked at the time step of the video ended after 34 minutes.
Yeah, he started late because he refused to come on stage if they were going to fact check him live. That, my friends, is what we call in the poker world a tell.
Yeah.
I got a cute one here from Jenny Lee Shee, Jenny from the Block List. I got to put this on the screen because I think it's really funny. Mm-hmm. What wine pairs best with week-old roller dogs?
Ooh. Definitely not a Beaujolais Nouveau.
Yeah. I do have a clip of Lawrence O'Donnell. It's 5 minutes. It's from MSNBC. I don't know if we can show it without getting tagged, but it's the last word with Lawrence O'Donnell from just last night. I'd like to show this clip.
So far we haven't been tagged when we've shown US clips.
Yeah, if we get tagged, I can just edit it out later. And I've had to do that on, like, you know, when we showed Snoop the other day?
Yes.
I had to cut that out.
Yeah.
Because they said, no, there's a copyright violation for 20 seconds of nothing but a G thing.
Oh, by the way, speaking of Snoop, apparently the Canadian artistic swim team did their free routine.
Yes.
Hip hop song.
Yeah.
Snoop's music was included in it. Somebody from NBC showed it to him. It's like, yeah, I love the Canadian girls. There you go.
So here is Lawrence O'Donnell. This was last night. I believe it was last night, I think, on MSNBC, The Last Word with Lawrence O'Donnell. So check this out. It's 5 minutes. It's worth your time.
And absolutely no comment from the reporters who were allowed to throw questions at him today about how could you possibly flip-flop like that? Well, it was 2016 all over again today. Donald Trump spoke at his home in Florida for over an hour, and all of the cable news networks, including this one, carried it live, just like they all did repeatedly in 2016. It would be hard to find a sentence in what Donald Trump said today that did not include at least one lie. Some of the networks tried to play catch-up with fact-checking after Donald Trump finished speaking, but that, of course, is way too late and utterly useless. No network even attempted to fact-check every lie Donald Trump told. Every network has the capacity, especially with these wide screens we now have at home, to run a live scroll at the side of the screen, fact-checking many of Donald Trump's lies. Not all of them, that would be impossible, but many of them as he speaks. For example, when Donald Trump said, quote, Kamala Harris is not smart enough to do a news conference, the networks could have simply put on the side of the screen, Kamala Harris is a graduate of Howard University and University of California Hastings College of Law. Of course, Donald Trump proved once again today that he is not smart enough to do a news conference by saying something that was provably false in every response he gave to every single question. Most of those were knowing lies by Donald Trump. But many of the falsehoods Donald Trump spread today in his responses came from that vast well of stupidity that takes up most of his brain. The stupidest person who has ever won a nomination for president stood there in front of those reporters and said his opponent isn't smart enough to do what he was failing at right in front of those reporters. And to make a bad news coverage situation worse, none of the networks, none of them, carried Kamala Harris's speech live after the Trump appearance. None of them. This network brought you the last few minutes of Kamala Harris's speech live, but was actually doing Olympics coverage when the speech began and kept doing. And so, as a first order of business in this hour tonight, we will correct that mistake by presenting to you in full and unedited, as if live, everything that Kamala Harris said today in her speech in Michigan, which all of the networks knew was coming. They knew what time it was coming. They knew how to cover it live, and they didn't. After giving Donald Trump more than an hour of live coverage on all of their networks. It's 2016 all over again. The same mistakes are being made. I have never seen an industry slower at learning from its own stupid mistakes than the American news business. And you cannot expect them in the next 89 days to figure out what they haven't been able to figure out in 9 years, how to cover a Trump for president campaign. One of the Harris-Walz campaign slogans now is, "We're not going back." But we just went back today. We went back 9 years in the press coverage of the campaign, the media coverage. Donald Trump gets credit from the people he lied to today for lying to them. They appreciate it. Reporters understandably and incorrectly believe that the most important thing a candidate can do is answer their questions. But they don't know what an answer actually is. Words spoken after their question marks are not necessarily answers and are never answers when they come from Donald Trump. There are rumblings in the news media now about Kamala Harris as a presidential candidate not doing what Donald Trump did today, stand up in front of reporters and take their questions. And some of the tinier minds in the news media continue to give credit to Donald Trump for standing up and lying in response to every single question they ask. A lie is not an answer. Donald Trump never answers reporters' questions, never. Anyone in the news media who tells you that Donald Trump has answered reporters' questions and Kamala Harris hasn't is lying to you. And they're too stupid to know that they're lying to you because they don't know what an answer is.
Wow.
So for those of you listening at home, in case it gets cut out, basically Lawrence O'Donnell made the case that even though Trump had an event where he just sat there and rambled for about an hour, and Kamala Harris had an event coming, coverage of that event, a Donald Trump event, was given full coverage for the full hour, just as was done in 2016. So nobody's learned a thing. And Kamala's event was covered just like the last few minutes or so, including on his network. And he said that he was going to correct that by showing the entire event as if live during his show. And then made a case that Kid Hugh actually made online not too long ago, that speaking words or writing words when you're asked a question is not necessarily an answer.
That's right.
And that Donald Trump does not answer questions because basically everything that he said, any answer that he gave to anything contained at least one lie. And as we saw J.D. Vance making the claim that Kamala Harris does not answer questions, and Well, that's not particularly true. Also saying that there's no reason now, given the size of our screens, that we should not have scrolling fact checks as things are going on. And one thing that still hasn't made the news, even though they're talking about Kamala Harris, because they're saying that she knows nothing and she has no skills and has no competence and whatnot, and that yes, she has graduated from Howard University. Yes, everybody knows her as a litigator, prosecutor, but she graduated in 1986 with a degree in political science and economics. She does have an economic background as well, which I had not heard mentioned anywhere yet about her.
Well, we cannot praise a woman of color for her achievements because words, I don't know, right?
Yes.
They will never give her the praise she has earned and deserves.
We certainly cannot present them as being any more intelligent beyond saying they are articulate.
Uh-huh.
I will just say, as I file my talons.
I got something here. From,
okay.
A quick, if I can get the message to open. Yeah, there it is. I've got a quick thing here. It's just, this was, Tavi sent this to me a few minutes ago, and I think you'll appreciate this. This is kind of it's a 5-second clip, but it's, sorry, they're starting construction again, so we're going to have to wind up soon. But check this out. This is Kamala.
Oh, she's got the Biden aviator glasses.
Yeah, what you got?
Her version of it.
Yeah, what you got? Come on, what you got? But she doesn't ask. But she doesn't answer questions.
Yes,
what
exactly.
you got?
Yeah. We talked about the $1 billion that Doug Ford is blowing in order to bring more alcohol to you simultaneously. While he is doing that, we haven't talked to us about this on the show yet. But according to CP24, July 31st, Ontario is officially ending its COVID-19 wastewater surveillance program as of Wednesday. Yeah. In a move some public health experts say is short-sighted, especially since right before they cut it, wastewater indicators in Ontario are showing that in certain regions, right now, it's the highest the wastewater level signal has been all year.
Yes.
All year. So a potential surge in COVID cases coming right now. And that's the time we cut the wastewater surveillance program. Dr. Fahad Razak, the former scientific director of the COVID-19 Ontario Science Table, called the province's decision incredibly disappointing. Wastewater testing gives an early indication of when COVID-19 and other viruses are on the rise, Razak said in an interview. The wastewater surveillance in dozens of communities across Ontario was useful not only for detecting COVID, but for monitoring potential threats, including the possible arrival of H5N1 avian flu. Also in the winter for just regular flu season. In some regions, it was such, the wastewater programs were such that you could pinpoint neighborhoods and you could identify certain particular hospitals or long-term care centers that might be more affected than others, and then, have a preemptive response. But we don't need that. Apparently, we need more booze in stores, but we do not need to be known. The one thing you can know about a pandemic that for sure is that there will be another one.
Yes.
But apparently, we don't need to. We need to go into that chin up, ass out, and blindfolded, according to Doug Ford.
Well, we are dealing with an idiot premier.
Hold on. Ontario's Environment Ministry said in an email on Tuesday it was winding down its program as the Public Health Agency of Canada expands its wastewater surveillance sites across the province. So they're saying, but don't worry, Ontario, you're not going to lose it because the federal government is taking it over. So we don't have to do it anymore. That's why we're canceling it. Turns out, bullshit. But a spokesperson from the Public Health Agency of Canada says it only plans to test in 4 Ontario cities in addition to its 4 existing sites in Toronto, which won't duplicate the provincial program. Quote, the scope of the expansion would not replace the current scope of the Ontario program, Anna Madison said in an email Tuesday evening. Ontario's decision to not continue their wastewater testing program was not coordinated with the Public Health Agency of Canada's decision to expand its wastewater monitoring program. They didn't even bother to coordinate. They just said, hey, they're going to take on some more. This is an opportunity to cut something that works and sell it off like we're not cutting anything at all. Lie to the people. The additional federal wastewater surveillance is expected to begin before flu season this fall. So right now, we actually don't have anything right now. The provincial government will work with the federal government and propose sampling sites that provide quality data for public health across the province, said Alex Catherwood, press secretary for the Ontario Minister of the Environment, Conservation Parks, in the email statement. Go screw yourself, sir. Ontario Health Minister, well, allegedly, because we hardly ever see her doing anything related to health.
Yes.
She talks a lot about the Ontario Science Centre, though, for some reason. Defended the province's decision to drop the program. Quote, we have returned to what has been in place in Ontario for decades, and that is a federal government that assesses the wastewater and works with our public health units and with our clinics to make sure that as that information comes in, it is disseminated to public health units across Ontario, Jones said on Wednesday. We had an increase during the height of the pandemic because of the need for additional COVID wastewater testing, and we are returning to what I would call a normal state of affairs. Miss Jones, do you not remember that the normal state of affairs created a situation in which Ontario had the most deaths in all of Canada in long-term care centers, and that the military had to come in, and that what they saw there was so bad that a lot of them had PTSD. Do you really want to go back to that normal way of doing things? Do you really think now that that was enough?
Clearly. I mean, you got to remember, Doug Ford did put that iron ring around those senior centers. Oh, wait, no, that was around the shareholders. My bad. If your cousin, uncle, grandfather, grandmother, parent who is in a long-term care home dies, in a private long-term care home, dies because of negligence, you can't sue them. That's the iron ring that he put around them. He put it around the shareholders, not the residents.
Yeah. Razek, who's an epidemiologist and internal medicine specialist at St. Michael's Hospital in Toronto, said many communities now won't have the virus monitoring they need. Quote, wastewater surveillance provides information fast enough for you to act. So knowing that you have lots of COVID cases in hospital, that's too late to act in many ways, he said. We now know that the signal from wastewater, not just for COVID, but for examples for RSV, which affects primarily children and elderly people. Again, why does Doug Ford hate kids?
And the elderly. He hates them both. You know why? Neither
they don't
one of them
taxes.
are in the workworkse.
Yep. They don't pay the higher level of taxes. They don't contribute as much. So, basically, they're not necessary. Like in the United States, there's actually one person that pretty much literally said, the disabled should just die off. Make it easy for the rest of us.
Yeah, didn't somebody do that in the 30s in Germany?
It's like, I do not understand this concept of people just not being able to understand that every single person has value.
You want to know what that's all about? Just watch The Man in the High Castle, and they will tell you all about what took place.
The wastewater testing sites covered nearly 3/4 of Ontario's population in 2023, Razek said, and also included some targeted monitoring of COVID-19 levels in high-risk places such as long-term care homes and homeless shelters, as I was saying. To me, this is a significant equity issue, he said. This is moving in exactly the opposite direction of what we want in the best of public health programs. Dr. Andrew Pinto, a family physician and public health specialist at St. Michael's Hospital, agreed that removing the provincial wastewater testing program is concerning. Quote, we are really seeing the scaling back of investments in pandemic preparation, Pinto said. The question I think we should all really ask ourselves is if there was a new threat that emerged, say, in October of this fall, would we be ready for it? And what have we scaled back, and would we have to reintroduce that which we have lost? The doctor's concerns were echoed by Ontario NDP leader Marit Stiles, who said her party has, quote, repeatedly called on Premier Doug Ford's government to reverse its decision. Quote, we all went through a tough time facing COVID-19 and dealing with the impacts of a pandemic and lockdown. Reliable wastewater testing is one of the tools we have at our disposal to monitor and prepare for future public health emergencies. Why would we take that away? Stiles said in a statement Wednesday. Has Ford learned nothing from the past few years? This program needs to be expanded, not ended. We agree? Or, I agree. I assume you agree, Mr. Chrisley. But yeah, again, for some reason, we can't have nice things. If it works, a conservative must break it.
Well, here's an example of conservatives breaking things, particularly Doug Ford. If this is difficult to read, it's on the screen. This was just sent to me by Tavi. Ontario stopped enforcing credentials in skilled trades right after Doug Ford took power.
Yep, this was in
2021. Provincial inspectors aren't checking if mechanics, electricians, other skilled tradespeople are certified. Ontario has not been enforcing its rules on compulsory licensing in skilled trades, such as auto servicing. I'm a stickler for rules, and I would love everybody to be forced to play by the rules as well, said Lou Trottier, owner of All About Imports, a garage in Mississauga, Ontario.
Yes. So if you're bringing your car to a mechanic, you have no guarantee whatsoever that an actual licensed mechanic who actually knows what they're doing is actually servicing your car. You're not entitled to that anymore.
No.
Doug Ford has decided. Probably same thing for your furnace, for example, your HVAC systems at home. If they fall down,
forget that if you are a 15-year-old in high school and you decide you want to drop out and get into the trades, you can do so. But of course, that would be under an apprenticeship program, which means you won't be getting paid. So Doug is now providing free child labor to his developer buddies.
Yep.
And speaking of cheap labor, this is an interesting thing, and there's a thread on this. I'm going to show this. We'll go through it, and then I'm going to show you a response to this, because the response to this is taken from a different perspective than you. Well, let me rephrase that. It's taken from a perspective I wouldn't have had if it was not pointed out to me.
Okay.
The person pointing out this issue is sometimes problematic, and I've had some issues with her, but she's dead on with this one. So first off, let's look at this. This is from Dr. Mike P. Moffat. He is, Dr. P. Moffat, a founding director, Place Center, co-host, Missing Middle, husband, father, brother, son, economist, housing guy. He used to do other stuff, blah, blah,
He
blah.
was the person that when the Liberals had their retreat in Atlantic, Canada, I think not last year, but the year before, was brought in specifically to make the presentation on housing, which led to Sean Fraser becoming housing minister and the programs that are there now.
Correct. So here's what he says. This is unbelievably cool. A new website that maps out who got approved to hire temporary foreign workers and where. Here's the data for City of Toronto. I'm surprised Dairy Freeze Incorporated couldn't find a worker locally. It shows the map. And then we scroll down. He says, here's the tool that maps out temporary foreign workers' labor market impact assessments, thanks to the Missing Middle viewer who sent it our way. I really have trouble believing we can't find anyone to work at the Dairy Queen by Fanshawe College. Maybe they'd have more luck if they brought back serving ice cream in those upside-down baseball helmets.
I remember those.
We really need to stop solving our problems through exploiting temporary workers in a program that gives them almost no enforceable rights. Anyone good enough to work here is good enough to stay here. I fully support that statement.
Yes.
Here's where it's problematic. We scroll back up to the very top. Okay. Let's go to the thread from Erica Eiffel.
Mm-hmm.
This is not cool. It's dangerous. Anytime these vulnerable people are located, comes with the threat of violence, like what we're seeing in England. This has always been my problem with economists. They don't factor in socioeconomic factors or conditions in their analysis, and they have no idea how to quantify power in socioeconomic context. In other words, in addition to macroeconomics, they need to learn about societies. That statement from her did not occur to me. Why? Because I'm a cishet white male.
Mm-hmm.
But what she's saying is dead accurate.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, and
for example, by listing the businesses that hire temporary foreign workers, that does create a map that somebody who's like anti-why not can go and try to disrupt their work. Never thought of it that way either.
No, exactly. There was a blind spot for me there. I never thought of that. Why would I? It's not something I was going, like what Dr. Moffat was saying. I'm like, this is cool. We can figure that. And of course I love his statement of, his final statement on the thread. We really need to stop solving our problems through exploiting temporary foreign workers, exploiting temporary foreign workers in a program that gives them almost no enforceable rights. Yep. Anyone good enough to work here is good enough to stay here. I completely agree with that.
Yep.
And here's a comment too. Fast food industry has embraced temporary foreign workers in small towns over the last couple of years, mirroring the rise of temporary foreign workers in livestock barns that started over a decade ago. How do we cut down use without running into the chronic shortages that livestock farmers dealt with prior to well-functioning temporary foreign workers? I do not have an answer for that.
Better working conditions and better salary. Because I've got a story on that, oddly enough, because the federal government, Mr. Grizzly, says that there are potential changes to Canada's temporary foreign worker rules that are coming, and they have farmers and caregivers in particular worried. Said it's considering blocking low-wage temporary foreign workers from
Good.
coming here. Now, there's an interview with a gentleman named Donovan Caritas, who has been working on a farm as a temporary foreign worker for 12 years now. Temporary foreign worker
For 12
every
years.
year for 12 years. He's from Jamaica. He's been coming to work here through Canada's temporary foreign worker program. He says Canada's just a second country that I come to, and I love it here. He says, this means everything to us, right? The fact that he's there. He's worried about his future and the federal government, because the federal government's saying that it's considering cutting part of the program. And if it was, then he would be denied coming here for work. So I'm guessing he's been coming here for 12 years and is still being paid a low wage if he would be caught in that program.
Well, and if memory serves, and correct me if I'm wrong, I do believe that they are allowed to pay them less than minimum wage in those roles.
It might be. That would not surprise me. Mel Foster, who is the co-owner of the farm that Caritas works at, says if the government follows through on the change, this farm may not be able to continue operating. Quote, what are farmers supposed to do if they cancel this program? Like if we can't get people now? He says they've been using the temporary foreign program for 20 years, and this year they've hired 21 people.
Mm-hmm.
Again, if you are using a temporary foreign worker program for 2 straight decades, and you are currently hiring 21 people, perhaps the problem is that the working conditions aren't good enough and that you're not paying people enough.
Clearly.
Now, the margins for farmers are very, very thin.
Mm-hmm.
So clearly, you can't put it all on the backs of the farmers. So there's got to be some conditions that are set up tax-wise or economically or whatnot for farmers who are doing that type of work to be able to have enough money to actually pay people, local people, a decent salary to do the job, and make sure that their working conditions are satisfactory.
In line with every law
and living
conditions
conditions
that we have. Yes, all of that. Yes,
because if you happen to be living on a farm, so probably these little dorms that have no air conditioning are probably not going to be good enough. So, but you've got to be able to equip the people to do that. So we can spend the money one way, or we can spend the money out the other way. But it just seems to be that, again, this is not a temporary program, clearly.
And yet, here's the thing
This
that
is systemic
considers that
low wage.
Foreign workers in agriculture has been going on for about a century in this country. This is not a new thing. This has long been going on, where for literally about 100 years, I might be off on the numbers, but Jamaicans have been coming up here in the summertime to pick crops on Ontario farms.
Mm-hmm.
And a number of Jamaicans decided to stay. That's how you have a big Jamaican population in southern Ontario. This is not a new thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to fix the problem. I don't.
Okay.
I haven't got a clue.
Yeah. So you got this guy, Chris Ramasarup, with Justice for Immigrant Workers, says that, it's not just that, there's a couple of bad actors, like this, and if we just change these little things, so the program's going to be fine. He says it's not about a few bad apples. The entire system is rotten to the core. Again, if farmers are forced to hire temporary workers for 2 straight decades nonstop and need 20 on a farm right now, it's like the overall system is not conducive to them being able to hire local people at a fair wage and offer them that costs money.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to pay people. So if you're not going to pay farmers for their work, and farmers don't have the money to pay the people that are helping them to farm, I guess, as the guy says, the system's rotten to the core. And Cassie here put a good comment. You posted it up, but I want to read it in for the people who are listening. In Manitoba, pork production would halt if not for Filipinos in the barns and Koreans and Ukrainians in the maple leaf plants.
Well, and from Vim, the cons blame temporary foreign workers for driving down wages.
Yeah, I guess. But they won't do anything to boost the wages.
No, but they'll axe the tax.
Right.
And spike the hike and build the homes and stop the crime, and don't tell us how any of that will take place.
Yes, indeed. Speaking of labor, economists are looking for signs of slowing employment market despite predictions the economy added new jobs last month. That's last month, but employment numbers for the most recent period will be released this morning. We're probably going to be in a situation again where we're going to see job numbers go up. They're expecting about 20,000 new jobs, but of course, given population growth, that's not keeping up. So the unemployment rate may tick up a little more again. Basically, people are saying that this year, for example, the Canadian economy has created about 190,000 jobs, but for us to have maintained the employment rate constant, we would have probably had to create the double of that amount of jobs based on the number of people that are coming in. Even though you see the number like more jobs, you always have to compare it to how many people are coming in. And then the economists are looking, saying, we don't want employment growing too much yet because we're still trying to get inflation under control. So even if you see that jobs were added, if people are going to run, that's going to keep interest rates up. Well, no, because you've got the effect of, even though we're creating more jobs, we are actually, like the rest of the world is going faster, so we are going backwards. As if you can imagine that optical illusion when you're in a car and there are two cars on either side of you and they're going faster, even though you're still going forward, it still looks like you're going behind optically, right? That image. So that's basically what's going on with the employment numbers. Even though there are more jobs in Canada, there are more people coming in than there are jobs being created at the time. So that's what causes the unemployment number to be going up at this time, which leads to the Bank of Canada being more likely to cut interest rates because they were deliberately trying to cool the job market, and they have succeeded. So that will be coming out. The last thing that I have for you kids before we go, because it's big international global news, it seems that the nations of the United States, Egypt, and Qatar are all getting together once again to say that time for the ceasefire, the whole Israel-Gaza thing, is now. Not that Benjamin Netanyahu is listening in any way, because his main priority remains keeping his backside out of jail, and that has not changed one bit for him. The three nations released a joint statement calling on Israel and Hamas to get back to the negotiating table and finally hammer out a ceasefire and hostage release deal. Those talks ended abruptly when the leader of Hamas was assassinated in Tehran last week. The proposed date for talks to resume is Thursday, August 15th. I don't know if it's these three countries that have unilaterally set that date without any consultation from Israel whatsoever. It seems like a bit of a coming up from on high thing. Okay, now Israel, the time is now. Chop, chop, get to the table. Netanyahu was like, don't think that's going to happen. But I guess they're trying. Now, this will be complexified by the fact that Hamas has named its new leader, man that goes by the name of Yahya Sinwar, who was selected to replace Ismail Haniyeh, who was assassinated. The thing with Yahya Sinwar is that he currently tops Israel's most wanted list, and there are fears his leadership will make the ceasefire negotiations nearly impossible because Israel considers him to pretty much be the mastermind of the October 7th attack. So, yeah, they took out Haniyeh, and Hamas said, oh, really? Well, here, let's put the guy who masterminded the October 7th attack in charge, and now come and sit at the table across from him. And let's see how that works out for you.
Yeah, that's not going to go well.
So I'm not sure where the United States, Qatar, and Egypt thought it's like, well, you have to make this happen now that your interlocutor is not the one that was considered the most moderate and had channels to go back and forth, but the guy that actually created the catalyst event. Let's say, if we're talking about humiliations, come and sit across the table against the
Yes.
guy who masterminded this thing. That's cold. That is cold-blooded. So yeah, not sure how that is going to work out for anyone. If the negotiations don't go ahead and the war in the Middle East becomes a wider conflict, Canada wants to be ready to get its citizens to safety. We've mentioned it twice now on the show at 2 different occasions, a couple of weeks apart, but that the federal government is telling people to get the hell out of Lebanon if you can.
Please do so.
But Defense Minister Bill Blair says the preparations are already being made. To be very clear, we have been preparing. He says Ottawa has been working with the Lebanese government to send Canadian military assets into the area. Quote, we've deployed Canadian Armed Forces assets into the region in order to prepare for potential evacuation of Canadian citizens if that area of the world becomes involved in conflict. Canada's advising also against any travel to Israel at the moment, citing the ongoing conflict and unpredictable security situation. Earlier this week, Ottawa announced that it was pulling its diplomats, children, and dependents out of Israel over fears of increasing violence. Officials say that there is no specific threat to which they were responding, but again, an abundance of caution. Canada's embassies in Tel Aviv, Beirut, and its representative office in the West Bank are still fully operating. Quote, there's still very important work, I think, going on the diplomatic front in order to try to avoid conflict, but we will be prepared and ready, says Bill Blair. His comments came yesterday after Ottawa told more than 20,000 Canadians in Lebanon that they should get out of the country because they may not be able to depend on government evacuation flights if a broader war erupts. And Blair says that Canada is also working closely with its allies to ensure their civilians are protected if the conflict escalates. So there you go. Again, if you have friends and family out there, again, please, if you're talking to them, you can't stress strongly enough that it's time to get out. All right. Mr. Grizzly, do we have a show?
We do indeed, sir. I just wanted to give you a note.
Yes.
Katie Vincent and Sloane Mackenzie captured a bronze medal in the women's canoe double 500-meter race.
I know. I saw that go through
22nd medal. So we were predicted to win 20. Canada currently has 22 and more to come.
Yeah, 24 is our record in Tokyo. Originally, the Nielsen group that put out the prediction originally predicted 24 for us.
Correct.
And then downgraded us to 20. And remember, Kits and Cubs, that's 24 without a medal from the soccer team, any of the basketball teams, Damian Warner crashing out of the decathlon, and Andre DeGrasse not picking up a medal.
Yeah, like these are
Pierce Lepage getting sick.
Yeah. These were people expected to medal, and they're out, and we've got 22. So
Mo Ahmed having a terrible fall in his 5,000.
Yeah, he was expected to medal in that too. So this team is really got up to the plate.
Our men's 400-meter, I can't remember his name, Christopher Williams, I think it was, who didn't make it out. A couple of Canadians in the 1500s who had stomach bugs, apparently.
This team has done well.
You know.
Having all
everyone has stepped up, and then count all the fourth places. There's probably about 9 or 10 of them so far.
Yeah, well, and like you say, Team Canada basketball, we were expecting them to be in the gold medal match, and they got bounced.
The men's, and the 3-on-3.
Yeah.
And both of them got bounced. And the women were 5th in the world, so anything can happen, right? Like this. Like I said, a lot of Shady El Nahas not getting a medal in judo, Catherine Beauchemin-Pinard not getting a medal in judo, Tamara Thibault, former world champion in boxing, knocked out in the first round. Not knocked out, but taken out in the first round. Like a lot, everybody really, really stepped up. And by the way, for those who are following the story about the Algerian boxer, the absolute last thing on the Olympic schedule today, I think 4:35 Eastern time, is her fight for gold.
Yeah, that should be good.
All right. Mr. Grizzly.
I have a quick thing for you, and then we'll wrap it
okay.
up. You'll like this. This is from Barney Panofsky's Best Intentions.
My
name's not Gordy. It says, I think I figured out a way to save the Ontario Science Centre. A liquor license. Here's the best part, though. Let's scroll down to Yowzers. The Nature Museum in Ottawa has adult nights. Nature Nocturne.
Yes.
Once a month they do that.
Yes. Yes,
So I think that's kind
the
of
gay
funny.
community has even had fundraisers and dance parties there. So at the museum in Ottawa. Yeah,
I've been to the parties. It's a good time. They
It's
do
a
it
really
once a
good
month,
time.
and it's from I think September to May. They don't do it June, July, August for obvious reasons, you know.
Yeah.
But I think it's September, late September, or it's starting in October. I can't recall, but it's like autumn, winter, into the spring, and then boom.
Yep, indeed. All right, kids and cubs, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we loved making this for you. Remember that sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless. So please tell your peeps on poops all about us. If you do not want to miss an episode, you don't have to, thanks to the Ray Girl. Because she's fierce, she's fabulous, and she has exceptionally good taste, and sponsored our pod page, podpage.com/thetruenortheagerbeaver, lowercase letters with a hyphen between each one of those words. And if you scan that QR code that just appeared under my chin, that will take you right there. You click on subscribe. When we have something fresh off the bandwidth, it comes directly to you because we like to help. And if you would like to help us in return, then you need to make like Kit Elaine and surf on down to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page and make like Kit Cassie and click some buttons, lick some buttons, flick some buttons. We have 1, 2, 3 like, share, and subscribe. So if you click them, that makes us very happy. And I'm sure that everybody likes a happy beaver. So thank you to the 5,000 of you who already have, and more to come. Let's see how much we grow. And if you would like to help us yet in another ways, the QR code by Mr. Grizzly's Head brings you to our coffee page. That's ko-fi.com/eagerbeaver, lowercase letters, all in one word. And that's where you can make a donation to our emergency computer replacement fund. Because according to Mr. Grizzly, I have one arriving today by Amazon because I tried to get on Mademoiselle Fox's show last night, and once again, the computer was telling me that my microphone was being used by another application when there are no other applications. So we are going to resolve this once and for all and change the computer system, and hopefully, that will resolve our issues. So if you would like to do that, we would really, really appreciate that little contribution. Of course, if you are not able to, that's quite all right, because the gift of your attention is the one we cherish the most. It really means the world to us. So, and we like to hear from you. So please do write to us, truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com. Leave us a note on our Twitter feed at TrueEager, our Facebook page, True North Eager Beaver, or on our YouTube feed in the comments section over there. We read everything. And we thank you, especially for those of you who send us something in our DMs and story tips and all that kind of stuff. Very, very helpful. And it lets us know what it is that you want us to hear as well. Mr. Jim, I know that you had asked about specs. I'm guessing that was something with an offer to help. But we thought that being on the similar system, computer-wise and microphone-wise and all that kind of stuff, might be better. And that I think you were saying that the cost, we got a really good deal. It was on sale. So the cost to build one would probably be way more than what would cost to replace it.
Effectively, you'd have to build a gaming rig, which is that's your $2,000-$3,000. Anything less than that won't be able to function properly. And here's the thing. I shouldn't say that. You could buy an i7 laptop for $1,500 that will work, but there is a shelf life on that. So if you're going to build a PC to do what we do, you want to put a lot of money into it so it'll sit and work for the next 10 years. Mm-hmm. And you're looking at $3,000 to $5,000. In this case, I've sent Mr. Beaver the same computer I'm using right now, a Mac Mini. He's getting it today, and we'll spend, I guess, a part of the weekend setting it up and learning how to use it, because it is a Mac. So there's a bit of a learning curve with the Mac. Yeah.
So it's and because it's smaller, I think it'll be easier for me to bring to Ottawa when I have to do stuff from the Ottawa Beaver Lodge and not have to worry about everything seizing all the time as my laptop has been doing.
Yeah,
So,
if at the Ottawa Beaver Lodge, all you need is a monitor, keyboard, and mouse. You just plug it in and you're good to go.
yeah. So hopefully that will improve the production values of our show at home and on the road. Fingers crossed, kids and cubs, because I'm as close as a Luddite as one can get. So when it comes to tech stuff, but I am learning. I'm learning because I've been producing, not necessarily landing the dismount or managing to get on the balance beam in a graceful manner every time, but I still managed to get the routine done, which is more than I could say for my abilities 3 weeks ago. So there you go. Even an old beaver can learn new tricks. Because democracy is something that you do, kids and cubs, please, if you happen to live in the beautiful provinces of British Columbia, Saskatchewan, and New Brunswick, you have elections coming up. If you live in Ward 15 in Toronto, if you happen to be living in La Salle, Villemar, Verdun, or in the Transcona riding in Winnipeg. I know that there's another name that goes with Transcona, and I keep on forgetting what it is, the full name of the riding. I need to look that up. You've got by-elections coming. So again, look for your candidate of choice. Look to see if your electoral body could use your help. That's always very, very important. And in Saskatchewan, by the way, I saw a latest poll that came out that showed that NDP at 48 and Sask Party at 47. Please, please, please make it possible. Saskatchewan, you really deserve better.
Follow Manitoba's lead.
You really deserve better. Just ditch Mo, man. He's dead weight. He's dead weight. He's tired, man. He's got no fresh ideas. Seriously. All right. It could be tough world out there, so please be kind to and gentle with yourself. Mr. Grizzly, some words of wisdom.
Second. Hang on a sec here. What's this? I'm sorry. I'm just...
This just in?
Sorry. Yeah, I've seen that. No, sorry. I was just getting a thing from...
it just sounded like the producer. This just in.
Mademoiselle Fox. She was like, she wanted to show me something. I'm like, we've put that on the show in the past. So yeah, here's the thing. We are heading into the weekend, and the best piece of advice I can give you for this weekend is, and it's kind of related to what I said yesterday, but the best piece of advice I can give you for this weekend is to take some time for yourself this weekend. Get some R&R in. If you're like me, you probably have a million projects on the go. I have lots of things. I have recording to do, editing to do, production work to do. I have to record a couple of jazz shows. I've got some narration auditions so I can get some, generate some income. I have a lot on the go, but this weekend I am heading off to my buddy's cottage for our annual golf weekend get together. I'm leaving at around 3:00 today. We're going to head up to the cottage, swim in the lake, play some golf, go to a vineyard, go to a brewery, just eat steaks, do guy stuff, smoke cigars, sit in a hot tub, drink whiskey, guy stuff. It's a guy weekend getaway, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. So if you get a chance to do some R&R for yourself this weekend, unplug. Like literally unplug from the internet for, I'm not saying the whole weekend, maybe just 8 hours, but just unplug for a couple of hours. Forget about everything else. Concentrate on you, your mental health and well-being, because that's what I'm going to do all weekend long.
All right. Mr. Grizzly, cue the cock and we'll be back with a... You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. All right, Cats and Cubs, and a little bit more Olympic news. If you want to watch the beach volleyball gold medal match, it will be at 4:30 Eastern time. And the two divers from Canada that combined to win this 10-meter platform synchro bronze had their preliminaries for the individual events, and both of them have advanced to the next round. So go Canada, go! Have a beaverific weekend, everyone.
Yeah, I got a Easter egg for you.
Oh, okay.
Greg McEachran pointing out something here. So first off, an article from the National Post. Conservative MP removes incorrect video after saying case could be made to keep CBC radio.
Oh.
Yeah, Greg McEachran says, just waiting for folks on the East Coast to realize that Land and Sea would be canceled. Also, the only network with a supper hour news program in PEI, CBC. So that would be gone too.
Yeah. Yep. Indeed. They haven't thought, it sounds really good, right? Defund the CBC, 3 words, verb the noun, until you think what it actually means in real life.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, oh, well, yeah, ooh, yeah, maybe we shouldn't do that.
Conservative MP Carrie Lynn Findlay deleted a video where she said a case could be made to keep not only Radio Canada, but radio programming at the CBC. I think she went against Skippy's mandate of defunding it.
Someone got a phone call.
Yep. Somebody got
freedom to think exactly as I do and say only that which I will allow.
Exactly.
Polyev is weird.
Very weird.
Pepperidge Bot Farms remembers.
I'll see you.